Welcome to Balancing the Scales, the Economic Justice Report. This is your host, Nick Wordsworth, and on today's show, we're going to be talking about these two topics. We're talking about the UN World Happiness Report for 2020. We're going to be delving in to find out what are the top 10 countries, top 10 happiest countries in the world, at least that. And then we're also going to be looking at why America desperately is in need of Medicare for All, especially during this COVID pandemic. Before I get to those topics, I'm going to take a call from a viewer. Sarah in Lodi asked me, like, why do you think Republicans hate Obamacare so much? Okay. Well, let me just give you my opinion, but this opinion is based on a lot of reference sources. One of them is commondreams.org, dated 6/26/2020. And let me break things down for you, Sarah. The Trump administration, this is coming right from the commondreams.org article, I'm quoting, the Trump administration late Thursday night filed a legal brief asking the Supreme Court to invalidate the entirety of the Affordable Care Act, a move that would strip health insurance from more than 20 million people in the middle of a pandemic and slash taxes for the richest Americans. Okay? Text goes on. Text goes on. The brief comes at a time when millions of Americans are newly uninsured due to the coronavirus pandemic, which caused calamitous job losses nationwide and kicked many people off of their employer-provided coverage. Finish the article off. If President Trump gets his way, 130 million Americans will lose the ACA's life-giving protections, and 23 million Americans will lose their health care coverage entirely. End of quote. Okay. So, what's going on here? Okay. We know why this is happening. Okay. It's basically for two reasons. Okay. Number one has to do with the 2011 Correspondents' Dinner and Republicans wanting to protect the real constituents' profits. Who are the real constituents? The healthcare companies and big pharma, and they want to protect their profits at all costs. Okay? Now, let's watch a clip. I'll tell you that Trump will get he's in the audience, and he's going to get really angry, and that's one of the reasons he's trying to undo Obamacare. Let's check it out.
Donald Trump is here tonight. Now, I know that he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac? Say what you will about Mr. Trump, he certainly would bring some change to the White House. All kidding aside, obviously we all know about your credentials and breadth of experience. For example, no, seriously, just recently in an episode of Celebrity Apprentice at the steakhouse, the men's cooking team did not impress the judges from Omaha Steaks. And there was a lot of blame to go around, but you, Mr. Trump, recognized that the real problem was a lack of leadership. And so ultimately you didn't blame Little John or Meatloaf. You fired Gary Busey. And these are the kind of decisions that would keep me up at night.
Okay, sorry, so there you have it. Obama hurt Trump so much, he hurt his soul so much, Trump wanted revenge. And when Trump got into office, he tried to destroy Obama's legacy, pull out all of his legislation, get rid of it, pull it out root and branch. And Obamacare is his last target. Maybe not his last target, but that has the biggest bullseye on it to get rid of it. And the other reason, like I said, is because the Republicans in general don't care about the common average person in this country. They care about who's paying for the re-election campaigns, and that they can get a cush job after they leave government office. The more tax breaks they give to big pharma and healthcare companies, maybe they can get $1 million job in those companies. One, right? You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, first story. The UN World Happiness Report 2020, and I'll be taking my information from CNN.com and also from Forbes.com. So, let me give you an overview of the World Happiness Report. The UN World Happiness Report, obviously product of the UN, ranked the world's happiest countries based on 6 criteria that support well-being. Okay? What are they? What's the criteria? Income, freedom, trust, healthy life expectancy, social support, and generosity. Okay? Now, what country is in first place? What country has the happiest citizens on earth? Finland. Again. Okay? Finland is number 1, the happiest country on earth. Number 2 is Denmark. Number 3 is Norway. Number 4 is Iceland. Then comes the Netherlands. Switzerland is number 6. Sweden is number 7. New Zealand is number 8. Canada is number 9. And Austria rounds out the top 10. Okay? So, let's take an in-depth look now at what's going on. Why are these countries so happy? Okay. Again, I bring this up because really it's the core. It's the reason I built this channel, why I create these shows, because the American dream back in the 50s, 60s, part of the 70s, we were happy back then, generally speaking. Okay, life was good. FDR set us up and gave us Social Security, and then LBJ gave us Medicare and Medicaid. Okay, those social programs, we were able to have a better life, to pay our bills, have a peace of mind. Okay, that all deteriorated years later. But let me get back to these happiest countries in the world now. So, why is particularly Finland? Why is it the top happiest country? Well, it has a stable, progressive government. Right? Fund for Peace, which is the United States nonprofit, ranked Finland the world's most successful country, socially, economically, and politically. Okay? Finland has parliamentary democracy. It's ranked as one of the most stable, safe, and free countries in the world. Okay? It has low crime rates and was the first in the world to give women the vote in 1906, okay? 14 years before the United States. But let me just tell you, it's generous social programs, economic programs in particular, that have a lot to do with the Finns' happiness. Okay? Finland's personal tax rates are just over 50% for the top earners. Okay? But that pays for what? It pays for free education from kindergarten to university. It pays for universal health care. The women there have, mothers there have long maternity and also paternity leave for fathers. And they have excellent pensions and disability benefits, okay? So your taxes are not wasted. They're put to excellent use, okay? And everything I've just mentioned, all those leave programs, that's what helps the country, what helps the citizens achieve a higher level of happiness, okay?
In the US, for example, the GDP increased by more than $1 trillion over the 3 years data was collected for this report, but its happiness ranking dropped 4 spots, down to 18th. Helliwell says social support, freedom, generosity, and trust in institutions are actually the most significant underlying factors among the happiest countries. For people out of work in Switzerland, there are generous unemployment benefits. Most are eligible to receive 80% of their last salary for anywhere from 6 to 18 months. And the Nordic countries all have tuition-free college options, provide versions of universal and in some cases free healthcare coverage, and have a variety of other social safety nets. Norway provides up to a year of full salary paid sick leave. In Sweden, Parents are entitled to almost 16 months of paid parental leave per child. That includes those who are unemployed. And in Finland, this year's winning country, the government even provides baby boxes to all new parents, filled with things like clothes, spoons, slippers, and a thermometer. Or parents can choose a check instead. In 2017, Finland also became the first country in Europe to pilot a universal basic income program, under which 2,000 unemployed citizens received a no-strings-attached monthly stipend from the government.
I joke with the other Americans that we are living the American dream here in Finland. I just see how well everything works, from medical, free healthcare for everyone, transportation that's really efficient, and really good schools that are free or very low charge to students and their families.
And Helliwell says citizens are generally happy to pay the price. Finland, Norway, Denmark, and Iceland all rank among the highest taxed countries in the OECD.
Quote from the Finnish citizen. This is from Juicy Salmi from Quora.com, which she was saying, I quote, because in Finland we have universal health care, a day in the hospital costs about 40 euros, 50 American dollars, let's say. No matter whether you just have a severe cold or a heart transplant, it's the same if you give birth to a baby. Okay? If you can't afford 40 euros, guess what? You don't have to pay even that. Okay? Nowadays, mothers also get some baby clothes, etc., delivered at home, and the child allowance about 130 euros a month until the child turns 18 years old, plus a 9-month paid maternity leave, and several other leaves which can be used to stay at home, at least part-time, until the child starts her 3rd grade education at school. End of quote. Okay? I mean, folks, can you comprehend, I'm talking to the Americans now, obviously, can you comprehend the cradle-to-grave support that this country provides for its citizens? It's just phenomenal. They put the quality of life for everyone first, okay? The citizens who live there, I don't care if they work for corporations or poor, it's everyone, okay? And like I said, one of the definitions of socialism, one of the best definitions, is that everyone pays for the benefit of everyone, okay? Sure sounds like a tax system to me, okay? And that's exactly what the Finns do. All the other Nordic countries do it too. So, what's the takeaway from the story? The top 10 happiest countries on earth continue to generate great social and economic welfare programs for their citizens. Well, what happens here in America, huh? Well, America keeps going in the opposite direction, okay? We're losing. We just keep losing our economic dignity every day. We always have, and end up having financial problems. The government, well, particularly one party, the GOP, they keep making it more and more difficult for families in this country. That's just how it works in this country. It's getting worse, okay? When I was a kid, I always remember this Norman Rockwell painting. It was really beautiful painting. It was called Freedom from What? It was amazing. It was beautiful Thanksgiving table, all the trimming, the turkey and all the pies and everything, and everyone's around the table, the family's around the table, and it's called Freedom from What? And it's not just the end of hunger. That was kind of what the picture was about. It represented, but it represents something much bigger. Freedom from what? Period. Freedom from being poor. Freedom from not being able to afford your rent or your mortgage or your food or if you can't pay a hospital bill, okay? And so forth and so on. Okay, so those worries are taken away because the governments actually care about you. And everyone pays a little, so no one pays a lot. That's the logic of social democratic countries. That's how they think, okay? It's very different in this country where pretty much the government still thinks in a discredited trickle-down theory that was invented by Reagan 40 years ago, and nothing has ever trickled down from the top, okay? So, folks, Finland has the American dream, okay? Like I said many times before, this show is about economics, but it's more about trying to reclaim our economic dignity that we achieved back in the 50s and 60s, or the 70s. And we were happier because of it, okay? We're not so happy anymore, okay? That's the average American, okay? So, a lot of you are probably trying to think, well, what's Dick trying to say? Is he trying to get us jealous of what these countries have? Yeah! Exactly! Exactly. So you can start voting for a political party or political candidates that want to help you create a life of economic dignity. You can afford to pay your bills, right? To have the same freedom from what the Finns have, okay? So now you know why the Finns are the happiest people on earth, okay? And what's interesting, if you caught that, the top 20 countries, I think it was Costa Rica, which was number 12 or 13th in place. Isn't that amazing? Well, Costa Rica. A lot of people think of Costa Rica maybe as a third world country. It's not. It's almost a developed country. And the fact that the people are so happy has a lot to say about how their social programs support their economic needs. Okay, so now let's move on. Okay, this next economic justice story has to do with America's need for a Medicare for All. Okay? My sources today come from commondreams.org and pnhp.org website, which is Physicians for a National Health Care Program. So, to give you an overview of what's going on here. It's been estimated that about 16.2 million workers overall lost their employer-paid health insurance since March, when the coronavirus forced companies all over the country to shut down, laying off and furloughing millions of their employees. At the end of April this year, about 12.7 million people have lost their employer-based coverage. A total of 43 million people could eventually lose their access to health care as a result of this COVID pandemic. Okay, now, let's watch a clip about the Medicare for All system and see what a doctor has to say about Medicare for All, and you see how he's attacked and see how he responds. We'll come back and talk about it.
George Mason University study estimates that a Bernie Sanders type of plan would cost over $32.6 trillion. Now, to put that into perspective, it nearly doubles the size of our already bloated federal government right now.
So that study that you mentioned, it actually estimated that overall health care spending would be lower under single payer. Okay, actually $2 trillion less over 10 years. We have 29 million people uninsured in this country. We have 44 million people who are underinsured, which means they have insurance, but with gaps in the coverage so big it's as if they aren't insured at all. 35% of Americans go without needed care due to cost. I would argue that that is unaffordable.
The salaries of doctors in America is higher than everywhere else. How do you reduce that salary to levels of other countries to make this work?
Frankly, you could move to a single-payer system in an affordable way and still pay doctors roughly comparable to what they're being paid now. The biggest savings in moving to a single-payer healthcare system is in eliminating, or rather reducing, the enormous amount of waste in our health insurance industry. That's the biggest source of savings. And the second biggest source of savings is, as you said, high pharmaceutical costs.
If the hospitals go out of business, the doctors all just no longer work because they're not getting paid below market rates. It says will cut their pay by over 40%. I mean, then where are you going for care if that happens?
Many nations have done this. None of them have had their hospitals close or their doctors flee for other countries.
That's not quite true, Doctor. How can you guarantee that our quality of health care won't go down the way it has gone down in Great Britain as a result of their socialized system?
But overall, the healthcare systems of these countries are quite high quality. Overall, they have higher life expectancies than we do. They have lower infant mortality. But overall, these nations achieve better results with less money.
Why can't the free market work? If the market can work like it does with auto insurance, there's no one out there that lacks for auto insurance, no matter their record, if they're willing to pay for it. Why can't we do that in health care? Why do you want to go to some centralized Soviet-run Medicare for All?
Let me push back. A true free market in health care is something no nation, no civilized nation would ever accept. You'd have people literally dying on the street because they couldn't afford the care. You can't have a free market in health care. When you think something is a right, that's something everybody should have, that people should have health care by virtue of being a human being, then you cannot leave it to the free market. That means that people who can afford it get it, and everybody else suffers. We need as a nation to decide that that's not going to be acceptable.
Everything you have said on this program so far makes 110% sense to me.
Okay, so you just heard it, folks. You just heard this doctor put Fox News and the whole Republican Party in its place about how wonderful our for-profit healthcare system is. Okay? So now let's move on and take an in-depth look at what's going on here. with Medicare For All system versus a for-profit system. Look, this pandemic has shown just how unfit our for-profit healthcare system is, and that the U.S. must expand Medicare to all Americans. About 2.5 million people who work in manufacturing have lost their employer-based healthcare coverage, and about 2.4 million in the healthcare sector have lost their coverage. As the pandemic makes it real clear, when it comes to healthcare, choice means nothing. Okay? A person's ability to keep an insurance plan that they like depends on choices that their employer makes, not the employee. Okay? So while some Americans anyway, may like their employer's sponsored coverage, when they have it, they can't always keep it. That's the problem. It's not permanent. Okay? That vulnerability is why all of us Americans need permanent healthcare coverage, employed or unemployed. From the Physicians for a National Healthcare Plan, according now from them, it says, even after full implementation of the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, tens of millions of Americans will remain uninsured or only partially insured, and costs will continue to rise faster than the inflation rate. We propose to replace the ACA, Obamacare, with a publicly financed national health care program that would fully cover medical care for all Americans while lowering costs by eliminating the profit-driven private insurance industry with its massive overhead. Hospitals, nursing homes, and other provider facilities would be nonprofit and would be paid global operating budgets rather than the fee-for-service model that they depend on now. End of quote. Personal story now. This comes from, you've probably seen it from CBS News, medical price roulette. This was the worst medical horror story I've heard, and you'll only hear these kind of stories in America, nowhere else on earth. I quote now from CBS News. Frank Esposito, a patient, says it started last March with unrelenting back pain. He could barely move, and an MRI soon showed a bulge in his spine. The specialist told him to go to the closest hospital like immediately. Doctors at the emergency room when he was there said he needed surgery immediately. Their herniation was so severe it could cut his nerve and render him paralyzed for life. He had surgery. The surgery was a success, but then the bill started arriving. Wait for it, folks. Over $650,000 in all. End of quote. $650,000. I mean, you could buy, I don't know, you could buy like 7 houses in the Midwest for that. Okay? It's crazy, you know? So why did I bring this up? What did I bring up this story? This is the takeaway. The takeaway is when it comes to our healthcare system, our for-profit capitalist approach has failed the American people. Okay? As I have just illustrated with a personal example, no other country allows such horrific personal economic suffering for patient victims like Mr. Esposito. Okay? Even during a pandemic, you would think that things would change during a pandemic, right? Even during a pandemic, when our government has failed us, or our private healthcare system has failed us, with Bernie Sanders out of the picture, there will be no changes forthcoming to stop personal economic suffering from happening. Okay? Capitalism in this country, with its inherent cruelty in the healthcare sector specifically, will remain supreme. So next week I'll be talking about why there is no homelessness in the Nordic countries, difficulties of the sandwich generation, and why the GOP, the Republican Party, really does not care at all about your high healthcare costs. Okay? That's the show for today, folks. Thanks for listening. And always remember, you deserve the government you vote for. Have a great day.